Hi, everybody. It's episode 521 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Yes, I'm here.
Are you here?
I'm here.
Can you do it like All Might now?
I am here!
Close enough.
My best. That's my best.
I'll give you that one. That was close enough. You at least you went for it.
I didn't commit enough.
You committed more than I expected, I'm going to be honest with you.
I didn't know like how deep I should put my voice, but also how high. Like that's the thing about his voice. It's both deep and high at the same time. And it's like that hard middle ground of trying to figure it out. I gave him more of a higher and he's more of a like deeper. He's more deep than what I did. I can't really do deep voices. Like,
Chris Sabat, he's got range.
Yeah.
He has all the way from Piccolo to Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
No, I mean, you're right. You're right. He's got more than just Piccolo and Vegeta.
No, I said from Piccolo to Vegeta.
Yeah, I know, but there's so much between that. Like, I honestly don't know who else he voices besides friggin' All Might.
Major Alex Louise Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, nice.
He also does Zoro from One Piece, the guy with the swords and the green hair.
I've never watched English One Piece. I've never watched One Piece, so.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if anyone else I can think of off the top of my head. He has done just a ton of people.
He has literally voiced our childhood. Like, he has voiced pretty much everything that we've grown up watching.
Yeah, I feel like there's another big one in there that I'm just blanking on. Oh, apparently he also voices Yamcha, or has voiced Yamcha.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Ruby, Lupin the Third.
Oh, I just got an update. Apparently, Disney is going to start cracking down on password sharing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Right, he does a character in Fairy Tail. That was the other big one I was trying to remember. And then just like random parts in like so many other shows, big and small. Anyway, I got nothing else for rambling. What's on the agenda?
On the agenda is a lot of TV and movie watching. That's really it. We watched a lot of TV and movies this weekend.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was Marvel. A lot of it was X-Men. We watched a lot of X-Men this weekend.
Well, I'd say you watched a lot of X-Men this weekend,
and we also watched a lot of karate this weekend. So like,
it was a lot of karate.
So
kind of across the board. Yeah.
Cobb watched Cobra Kai season 6 part 1, which I have yet to be able to get into because I just completely forgot.
It is season 6, right? I meant to look that up and totally forgot.
I have no idea. I don't know. I was just reading what you wrote.
Yes, Cobra Kai season 6.
And to be 100% honest, once part 2 comes out, I'm probably ending my Netflix subscription.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't use it anymore.
I mean, it's easy enough to sign up for it when you like need it. Like,
yeah, I don't use it. The only reason I had it was for really Kim's convenience, and I kind of stopped watching that because I watched. It's too short for it to be like a bingeable series. And Cobra Kai, really, I haven't really watched any, and the Marvel shows, which that's all on Disney now, so it doesn't even matter. But yeah, so Cobra Kai season 6, Cobb watched that. I watched Dark Phoenix, and then both me and Cobb saw separately, but this weekend, Deadpool and Wolverine.
And we will talk spoilers.
Yes.
Because there's no other reason to talk about that movie other than the spoilers.
Exactly. There's really, like, what else are we going to say? It was a fun movie with great fight scenes. That's all you can say without talking about spoilers.
Yeah. Like, that movie is just one big spoiler.
Yeah. It was great, though. I loved it.
I had a good time with it. Like, it is... I went into it, like... optimistic, but like guardedly optimistic. And I'm just like, that was a lot of fun. I had fun with that.
I went into it expecting to be thoroughly entertained, and I was.
I just like the Marvel stuff has been, up and down. So it was one of those.
See,
they were leaning hard R onto this one. I'm like, how much did they really let them do? And they fucking let them go for it.
Because it's not a Marvel movie; it's a Fox movie.
That's
that's my opinion, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. It's a Fox movie. It's the last 20th Century Fox Marvel movie.
Kind of. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. I guess for right now, I watched the first part of Cobra Kai season 6.
Mhm.
I just looked up. I thought it was only 2 parts. It's apparently going to be 3 parts.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, 8. What was Community? 6 seasons and a movie or something like that?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing now, or are we doing Attack on Titan, where the final season is going to be 4 seasons?
Well, so to be fair, like
6 years.
This is all filmed.
Yeah,
they're done filming it. They're just releasing it in batches rather than releasing it weekly.
mm-hmm.
The one thing I don't know, so they moved up the dates. Wikipedia is wrong, for one. They moved up the dates for Part 2. Part 2 is actually coming out later this month. It was originally scheduled for November.
Mm-hmm.
So that got moved up. I don't know if Part 3 is also being moved up, but it's 3 parts of 5. So it'll be 15 episodes total. And it looks, as of right now, Part 3 is scheduled for 2025. It doesn't have like a date. But I could see them doing it a little sooner if they moved up Part 2.
Okay.
But, so, without going into any spoilers, since you haven't watched it yet, except for spoilers up through Season 5. So, if you haven't watched any Cobra Kai up through Season 5, you're gonna be spoiled now. It picks up kind of right from where Season 5 left off. Like, they got accepted into that Sakai Kai tournament, whatever the tournament's called, the international one.
Yeah.
So they're in that. They're training. They have to kind of figure out who on the team is going and all of that. Cobra Kai itself is defunct where we start because Kreese, it was, as far as our characters knew, he was in prison, but we saw that he escaped at the end of the season, and Terry Silver got arrested at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So, we start out like that is the status quo at that point. And the first 4.5 episodes, I thought they did a really good job. They avoided all of the really tropey shit that they've done constantly, while still having it kind of be there. So you know how like every season, every single fucking pair of characters would have some sort of like wedge driven between them, and then like it would just be a season-wide arc of them fighting each other for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff's there, but it's not the catalyst for the show like it's always been. The catalyst is they want to go to this competition. And I like that. I like that they're giving us a new focal point that isn't just either Miyagi versus Cobra Kai or Johnny versus Daniel. Like, they're finally giving us a different perspective for the final season.
Yeah.
There were some twists in the final episode, though, that I wasn't a big fan of. But I could, now seeing that it's actually 15 episodes, and I thought it was just going to be 10. I'm less down on that than I was initially, just because there's more time now that they can actually flesh it out. Because initially I was like, okay, these first 5 episodes, like 2 of the episodes, while they were good, didn't really progress the story all that much. Like, there just wasn't a lot there. It had some cool fight scenes, and it had some characters from past seasons that haven't been in it for a little while, kind of like make little cameos, but nothing that was driving things forward. And I'm like, okay, there's quite a bit of show left to like give us a satisfying conclusion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, everyone that you kind of like want to see have some sort of progression to their arc is definitely like front and center. Even some of like the lesser used characters, like Dimitri, the one nerdier kid.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he got more focus and push this season than he has in the past. In the past, he's kind of just been there. They've had him front and center, but he's usually there as like a foil to Hawk. Like, whereas like Hawk is the character that is front and center, and Dimitri's like the character off to the side of him, either as the one trying to catch up to him or the one going against him. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I like that they're giving characters like that a little bit more time to shine. Because it's been a lot of years following these characters. Johnny and Daniel still have the same fucking just wrecked relationship. Which might be the best and worst part of this show. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
it is getting old. Like it was like the main focal point of the show for the first season or two. And it was good and it was funny to begin with, especially seeing like these old men revert back, not old men, but older men revert back to their childish ways because of past trauma and whatnot. And it was like a little comedic at first, but it is like, come on guys, you're 50 years old. Like, be an adult.
Yeah. I mean 100%. I feel like this season and last season, they both made a lot of progress into not necessarily getting along with each other, though they keep trying, but like seeing things from the other person's point of view. It doesn't always happen right away. Like sometimes they overreact to a thing that one of them does, and then it's like after the fact where they kind of realize like, oh, like you actually weren't. This was more of a misunderstanding than you just being a douchebag. Because I feel like both of them just default to the other one being a douchebag about everything. And then, like, the other characters around them are just like, are you sure? Because, like, maybe that's not what happened.
Yeah, and you're right. And it's happened throughout the entire series. It's always... That's their thing. It's Johnny thinks Daniel's an asshole. Daniel thinks Johnny's an asshole. But neither of them are particularly assholes. But also neither of them are particularly douchebags. Or good guys either. Like, they're just kind of doing their best, but like they just and a lot of the times I catch myself thinking like when Daniel is upset at Johnny, I'm like, Daniel, get over yourself. Like, stop being a rich kid.
Word and like use your words also, right? Like,
yeah, use your words, but also like stop being a rich kid or stop being a rich person anymore. Like, be and it's funny because the roles are reversed. It was in the original series or in the original movie. Johnny was the rich kid and Daniel was the poor kid, and now it's swapped and Daniel is the rich guy and Johnny's the poor guy. But it's like, stop being rich for a second and be understanding. Like, listen to what he's got to say and don't be a dick anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I feel like even last season they started getting there. Like, they weren't there yet, but like there were more often times of them getting along and agreeing than just immediately breaking down into arguments and fights.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're trying. Like the writers are trying.
And it's also you gotta space yourself from this a little bit when you're watching a series like this, and remind yourself that 6 seasons have gone across maybe 2 years.
I think it's been like 2 years because it was two.
There were
rallies.
There were 2 tournaments, but like how long before the first tournament? Because the first tournament was in the first season, and I can't. It's like figuring out the timeline from the start of the first tournament, start of the first season to the tournament. That's where you got to figure that out. But then I think, and what the second tournament was season 4, right?
I believe so.
So it's been a year from that. So anywhere between 18 to 24 months, like a year and a half to 2 years, somewhere in that range. So like you can't grow that fast. You can't grow that fast. Like it's for us, it's been 6 years. Actually, more than that because they were canceled for a while. For us, it's been 6 years. For them, it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. And they actually even make a comment in one of the episodes. They're basically putting people through like tryouts, I guess is lack of a better word. And they have an impartial judge there who goes, Are they new at karate? And Johnny's just like, well, yeah, like they're all new. So like they're at least acknowledging that like it hasn't been that long since most of them picked it up. Like Sam, Daniel's daughter, is probably the most has like the most training because if I remember correctly, like she did some training with her dad when she was little, but then like stopped and then picked it back up.
Yeah, she used to train with her dad and Mr. Miyagi, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Even that notwithstanding, like the growth, the skill growth of some of these characters in let's just call it 2 years. Because some of them, like Tori, didn't show up until I think season 2 or 3.
She showed up Well, that was season 2 because season 2 was the brawl, and she showed up midway through season 2.
Okay. So still, so like shit, she was not there at the beginning. And like a lot of like they are way too good for like 2 years of like after school karate classes.
Yeah, and you're right. Like Tori is a year and a half of karate classes. Not even 2 years. So you're right. Like the only one who's been taking karate for that long, for 2 years, well, is Miguel first. He's been taking it the longest per the series. And then Hawk was one of the originals of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, Hawk. Robbie's been doing it for quite a while at this point, too.
Yeah, Robbie started training midway through season 1.
And, like, even Kenny. Like, Kenny just started, like, 2 seasons ago, which was a year ago in the show. And is, like, right up there with most of, like... He started training... The season he was in, the first season he was in, was the second tournament season. Okay, was that the season he joined it in?
I think, and so he hasn't even been training for 6 months, really. Like maybe 6 months. And yeah, he almost won his division or something like that in the tournament, in the All Valley tournament.
Yeah, and like I get it. There is a level of just suspension of disbelief. Like you're just supposed to accept that, like they're training, they're trying hard, so like this isn't unreasonable, and they are generally like while their fights are over the top for the most part, they really aren't ever fighting above their class, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of the kids are fighting like Johnny or Daniel or Kreese or Silver or like or Chosen. Like they're not fighting people with years of experience and teaching under their belt, or even fighting like other students that are like black belts or whatever.
And also, to defend it even further, Karate Kid 1, Daniel may be trained for like 4 months.
Oh, yeah. And he actually says that. I think he says it in this season, or if it's not this season, it was like a flashback. No, it was this season. He's talking to his son, who like has just recently started as of last season. And his son puts on like a good show for the thing they're doing, but like ultimately loses and is like bummed about it. And Daniel goes over and says like, "You're doing way better than I was. Like I won the All Valley with like 6 months of experience. Like you would have kicked my ass back then." But like also Daniel only won because he fucking cheated and the ref didn't call him on it.
Look, it's not. The Cobra Kai was cheating and attacking the leg and everything like that. Like sweep the leg. Like Cobra Kai was cheating first.
I'm just saying, like neither of them should have won, but like Daniel won on a straight illegal move.
Is it an illegal move?
Yeah, they've even called it out in the show. Like that crane kick to the face is not a point granting move.
But he knocked him to the ground, and he could have gone and hit him from there and given him.
But that move is illegal. So it's not that it shouldn't grant a point. It's that move shouldn't count. So they should have actually broken it and restarted that particular like round.
In self-defense, there's no illegal moves.
There isn't, but there is in fucking tournament karate.
I mean, the only illegal move that I think should be in a tournament anything is no kick in the crotch. But I think everything else is a legal move. It's when you're doing a self-defense class.
Well, it comes down to safety. Like literally a kick to the face is more dangerous for somebody. So like they try to eliminate, potentially killing each other in like a junior karate tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but look, Johnny still won fair and square.
Yeah, but I mean Daniel
won fair and square.
But yeah, like overall, like it's a really strong start to the final season. I'm super interested to see where it goes with the tournament whose name I just can never fucking remember how to pronounce because it's a fake tournament. There were some cool like revelations throughout the season, especially like right up to the final episode. So yeah, like it should be interesting. Should be interesting. Are you going to watch it anytime soon? Do you think?
I'm hoping to watch it. Maybe start watching it this weekend or something. I was extremely busy this past weekend. I was barely home, so I just didn't have time to watch it.
That's totally understandable. I'm actually just curious how you'll end up feeling about it, and there's enough things that like are actually spoilery that I don't want to say, that I'm kind of holding back on. So
yeah, I mean, also I'm kind of considering just waiting for it to all be out.
Well, I mean,
And,
that
like,
could be a year from now.
it shouldn't be. Like, if they already have it all filmed already and it's 3 parts, and they're already planning on the second part coming out in like a few weeks, then it should just all come out. It should all be out by the end of the year.
That's not how Netflix does it though, because Netflix sucks.
I know, and that's why I'm kind of don't want to give them the satisfaction of watching it now, and kind of want to wait.
I mean, so many people have watched it. You not watching it doesn't actually impact them.
I know. It's like voting.
Well, voting in states that are not swing states.
Exactly.
But I will say, like, I don't know that every part is going to be broken up well, but this 5-episode chunk felt like its own season. Like, this could have easily been a full season, like a short season, but a full season, and, like, felt completely substantial for what they were doing, leading into what would be, like, a quote-unquote 7th season.
Yeah.
So, but would you like to talk a little bit about Dark Phoenix, which apparently you did not hate?
Yeah. Look, so I've been watching all of the X-Men movies in release order, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, because that just came out. And upon reviewing all the game tapes and playing all the game and watching all the movies, I would have to say that Dark Phoenix, I don't think deserves the negative reviews that it got. I didn't read the reviews. I've just looked at its scores. And I think it averaged on mid. It averaged on 5s. I don't think it got... Rotten Tomatoes gave it a shit score, but it's an action film. So Rotten Tomatoes always has shit like that lower. I really want to... I'm curious. Audience meter is 64% for Rotten Tomatoes, though. Like, and I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with this movie being like it wasn't the best movie. It wasn't the best movie, but I think it was better than I was expecting it to be. Even like looking at Google's generic reviews, it's 3.2, which is more than half. It's 3.2 out of 5. It got better than half. I like what they did with Jean. I like what they did with the movie. I like what they did with the character. They completely wrote over the Phoenix storyline from the original, so now like that this timeline is completely different. So they completely wrote over that. They completely wrote over whatever Phoenix was in the original series, which was nice because it just being an alternate personality of her was kind of just dumb. And they turned it into the Phoenix Force, basically. They turned it into an all-powerful force, which is what the Phoenix is in normal comics, is a powerful force. That's what the Phoenix was in the comics, or in the cartoon as well, in the 90s cartoon. That's what it is in the comics. It's like a powerful force that makes her stronger. Also does kind of give her an alternate personality. But I like that, like, they leaned on Jean being in a vulnerable spot, and somebody taking advantage of her, which is kind of how, at least in the 90s cartoon, that's how Dark Phoenix was. Is she was vulnerable, her psychic powers are weaker, so somebody took over her mind. Whereas, like, in Last Stand, the cartoon, or Last Stand, the movie, Last Stand was the one with Phoenix.
Yeah.
She just literally she was just an evil person.
Yeah,
she just turned evil.
She just had those powers for whatever reason.
Yeah, and she just turned evil. And so, like, it was terrible writing in the original one. This one, like, I talked to you about it a little bit, Cobb, and I was like, this is actually not that bad. And you were like, well, I remember it being, part of it being, like, very boring. And the start of it does build up slow, because it's actually building up, like, the first few minutes of it, maybe the first 20 minutes, yeah, they're building up the fact that, like, the X-Men are now welcome in the world, and mutants aren't... There's still prejudice against them, but it's not as blatant, or at least it's not as out in the open, and the X-Men are doing some good to try to make mutants be more accepted. And Xavier is actually, I think, really, it's showing that Xavier was letting the glory get to his fucking head, and wasn't paying attention to his students. So like the beginning up until spoilers now, guys, for a movie that's been out for 5 years. Up until the point Mystique dies, you're right. It's kind of slow.
I actually forgot that even happened. I'm going to be honest with you.
I feel like part of the reason you just didn't connect with it is also you watched it on the plane.
Did I watch this one on a plane?
Yeah, you watched it on your way to Japan.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That was the first time you saw this movie. It was on your way to Japan. Which, like, maybe just being on a plane was also uncomfortable, and haven't watched this movie on that little screen.
You know what, though? I've watched a bunch of movies for the first time on the back of plane seats. It's really not a bad experience. Those screens are actually pretty high quality.
Yeah, but I just... I might just be reaching for excuses, kind of. But, like, overall, like, I to the point where, like, Mystique dies and they, like, start to deal with her death, like... It does get a little slow, but then it actually like picks up and it gets better, and the story gets good. Where it's like everyone just basically wants to kill Jean because she killed Mystique by accident, and she didn't kill Mystique. The Phoenix killed Mystique because the Phoenix was the one that was in control, but nobody knew about the Phoenix. And it was a good story. It was a solid story, and then for the first time in now 3 films that had Nightcrawler, you actually got a badass fucking Nightcrawler. There's a scene on the train near the end where Nightcrawler tries to save someone from being killed. He's not able to save him, and he goes ballistic, and he grabs a knife, and he becomes the swashbuckling Nightcrawler that we fucking know and love. And he uses his powers to, like, he grabs one of these alien creatures. I can't remember what they're called. The Bari, I think, is what it is. He grabs one and teleports them outside, and then teleports away, and he dropped them off in front of the train's path. He uses his tail to, like, stab somebody through the neck and shit. Like, yeah, we got a slightly badass Nightcrawler in X2, but he was being controlled by Stryker. And we didn't see that at all for the rest of the fucking movie besides the very beginning. Like, this is, like, you start to see, like, what Nightcrawler can be in this. And I was just like, it's like, oh man, you actually made Nightcrawler badass for the first time ever. And you just, yeah, I thought the whole end fight sequence, which is a decent amount of the movie. It's only like an hour and a half, I think, is a runtime. It's not a long movie.
Is it actually that short?
It's not long. It's almost 2 hours, actually. It's an hour and 54. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was a decent enough runtime. And I enjoyed it. I went into it knowing that, like, people hated it, knowing that it was, like, frowned upon in a way, like, people thought it was pretty bad. But no, I thought it obviously isn't the best movie in the list, but it's definitely not the worst. I completely agree. It's middle ground. It's mid to high mid. Like, it's I don't think it deserved the bad reviews that it got, but IMDb at least has it at a 5.7. Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic has it at 43%. Rotten Tomatoes 22% for critics, and what did I say, like 60% for fans, which, like, sounds about right. I would give it probably 60 to 70%.
I do wonder if part of you being a little, like, higher on it is getting to watch them all so close together. Like, you're kind of seeing the peaks and the valleys, like, in a condensed form. So you're like, this isn't perfect, but it's better than X, Y, and Z. Where in a lot of other cases, you know, people weren't watching the other X-Men movies before watching this one, especially, like, critics.
That could be possible. It also could be that, like, like I said, I've not read any of the actual reviews for the movie, the bad reviews or the good reviews. But it could be possible that people were also comparing it to other Marvel films. And this isn't a Marvel film, but they were comparing it to just superhero films in general. And, like, I feel like everything, even MCU, you can't compare it to other other superhero films. Each film has to be reviewed upon itself. How is a movie compared to itself? and then how is it compared to everything else? And like I feel like we were at a time when this came out, 2019, where Marvel movies weren't quite in the dip that they're in now, which I'd still disagree that they're in a dip. I think a lot of the Marvel movies are still good movies. But like we were getting some of the peak of Marvel. 2019 was just after Endgame, right? So Endgame 2018?
No, Endgame was 2019.
Was it? Yeah, so we were like at the end of peak Marvel.
This movie literally came out like within a month of Endgame, because Endgame was May of 2019 and this was June.
Yeah, this came out after Captain Marvel, because they had to actually change. It was originally supposed to be the what's it called for their villains, the Skrulls for their villains in this movie, but they changed it to the Dabari because they couldn't use the Skrull because Marvel already used them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny, the Dabari, they're nothing in the Marvel universe. Like, they're nothing, but they are an actual race in the Marvel universe.
I mean, it was a similar thing with the Chitauri in the Avengers, because when they did the Avengers, Marvel also did not have the rights to the Skrulls.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, did Fox have the rights to the Skrulls?
I think it's one of those, like, it's one of those middle ground ones where it's like, it's hard to say who's got it.
So technically,
like, they both had it, but it was really dependent on whose villain they were using. Like,
I think it was actually Fox did have them because of the Fantastic Four. The Skrulls were sold as part of the Fantastic Four's catalog, which is also silly.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt it was a solid movie compared to all the other X-Men movies. I would put it. Cobb, you have my list. You have my list. Read it out for me.
All right, hang on. Let me scroll down.
Because I haven't been paying attention.
You got. Hang on. Let me actually make this an ordered list so I can tell you what the numbers are.
Mm.
There we go. So at number 1, we have Logan.
Yep, makes sense.
Number 2, with a star, we have Deadpool 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, we have Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Number 4, we have the original X-Men.
Yep.
Number 5, we have First Class.
Okay.
Number 6 is the Wolverine. Number 7, Deadpool 2. Number 8, X-Men Apocalypse. Number 9, X-Men The Last Stand. Number 10, X-Men Origins Wolverine. And number 11, X2, X-Men United.
Okay. I would put this probably at 6. Which was after...
So before or after the Wolverine?
I would put it probably before the Wolverine, actually. I would put it at 6. So the Wolverine was 6, right?
Yeah. So now the Wolverine is 7.
Yeah. So I would put it at 6. It's probably it's like, look, we're looking at 11 movies here. The 6th best movie. Like, it's not the best, but it's mid. Like, anything from like 4 to 8 is just, all right, it is what it is. In like a movie, in this total number of movies, like 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, even like 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're kind of just like, okay. They're mid. They're not great movies. They're not bad movies, but they're watchable movies. Whereas anything after like 8 and below is kind of just bad. But then that number will change slightly after Deadpool and Wolverine gets added to the list, and after I watch New Mutants.
Oh right, you still have New Mutants the last one, right?
New Mutants is the last one.
Damn, you're almost done.
Yeah.
I feel like New Mutants is either going to go high for you or at the bottom.
I'm hoping it's decent. I'm hoping it's. We'll see. I'm not trying to like get my hopes up too high about it, but I do want it to. I want it to be good.
Yeah. For me at least, I like the cast of New Mutants, and I like what they tried to do. But I feel like it was one of those. The writer and director had a vision, and the studio said no.
Yeah.
After it was filmed.
Yeah. Because I know they wanted to try to lean more horror for that one, and they weren't able to, or something like that, right?
So it has those vibes, but yeah, none of it really ever pays off, and it just ends up devolving into kind of, unfortunately, like a more generic like hero movie, especially for the time. Like that movie came out post Endgame. Like,
yeah, it also it was like post production hell for that movie as well. Like there were times it wasn't going to be released, if I remember correctly.
It did kept getting delayed and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Had delays because of COVID and delays because of other things. The movie didn't come out till 2022 or something like that. 2021.
Yeah, I know it came out directly to streaming.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Dark Phoenix, I think if you hated on Dark Phoenix when that came out, maybe give it another watch. Just give it another watch.
I don't think I will.
I think it's worth it.
No, I'm good.
Drew, I think you should watch it. I think Drew should watch it.
Just that, though. None of the rest.
None of the rest. That could be your movie for this book club, Drew, is Dark Phoenix.
But I've seen... The only X-Men movie I haven't seen is the Wolverine.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew you had seen a lot of like the early ones.
Maybe I haven't seen X3. I forget.
I mean, that is one of the weaker ones. So,
but yeah. I've seen First Class, and Days of Future Past.
You saw Apocalypse?
Yeah. I feel like I did, but it was so unmemorable.
Because I mean, technically,
like I remember
the one before this one, and so if you hadn't seen Apocalypse, then this one would count.
Like I feel like I remember seeing Olivia Munn, like, and not just like the trailers. I'm 90% sure I've seen Apocalypse.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like that is the movie that should have been better. Like it had everything it needed to be a really good superhero movie, and it ended up being forgettable because they tried to do too much in too small of a time and never really found a focus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But, it could be worse. It's not X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, Rich, you're a little bit probably on the outside with thinking X2 is the weakest. Because I've even seen some lists of people, like, ranking them now with the Wolverine Deadpool coming out. And, like, still having X2 ranked pretty high. But, like, everybody has Origins within like the bottom two.
I don't. So where is Origins on my list? It's like 3, right? It's bottom 3.
Bottom 2. It's 11 out of 12.
Okay, yeah.
It's Last Stand, Origin to X2.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can like United. I don't understand it. I've never liked that movie.
I don't know. You know what it is? I think people like Iceman.
Yeah, but like he doesn't really have much of a part in that movie.
Yeah.
In X2?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the ones that he has the most part in.
Not really.
And that in X3.
He doesn't do anything in X2.
But he's there. He makes that
there.
beer cold, or is that in the first one?
He makes the beer cold, and then they go to his house, and his brother calls the cops because his brother's jealous that he's a mutant. And then they leave his house, and he doesn't do anything.
Like he's there.
He was there in X-Men 1, and he was there in X-Men United.
And he's Shawn Ashmore. People like Shawn Ashmore. His brother was Jimmy Olsen on Smallville.
Yeah, he plays a bigger part in X3 than he does in X2.
I don't know, man. People like X2. They don't like X3. I don't know what else to tell you.
No, trust me. I hate X3, and I hate X2. Like, I think X3 is a slightly better movie than X2, and I just don't understand how people can like X2. But also, apparently, there's people out there that are hating on Deadpool and Wolverine, and that blows my mind as well.
I mean, like, I can understand people not liking Deadpool and Wolverine.
I can't.
Like, that type of movie is just not for everybody.
But with that, do we want to go into Deadpool and Wolverine?
Why the hell not?
Sure.
Where is my timestamps? There are my timestamps. So, Deadpool Wolverine, spoilers, like, if you haven't seen the movie and you care, you can just stop. Like, we'll be back next week with something else, for sure. Balls 3D, for instance.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, there's not a whole lot you can talk about this movie without spoiling it a ton, so...
Yeah.
This is your chance to get off the train before everything gets ruined.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I can understand people not liking it because it didn't have a lot of... I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Because it had substance. It just had a weird substance. Like, it had the classic Marvel issue of the villain not really being all that threatening.
Okay.
But I don't think that was what they were trying to even do. Like, this movie was really more about, like, those two characters
this
than
movie,
a villain.
No, this movie was a love letter to Fox's Marvel movies. That's what this movie was. It was a love letter to Fox and a goodbye to the Fox Marvel properties. And that's what it was. That's what they did with this movie. They like that's why they had all these cameos as well. It's like, this is like, all right, this universe is basically done because we're going to be bringing them into another universe. Let's just say goodbye. Let's make everyone happy and get the best Wolverine to ever happen and the best Deadpool to ever happen.
I don't know, man. We got Calverine.
Look, Calverine was great. I want more comic book accurate Wolverine.
Oh, that was so Drew. At one point in this movie, it's early on. Deadpool is just jumping between universes, trying to find like a Wolverine that's not just a complete fucking mess.
Okay.
And so at one point he jumps into a thing, and Hugh Jackman's sitting at a bar drinking a beer, and Deadpool says something, and then he jumps off his bar stool, and he's like 5'2". Yeah. Because in the comics, Wolverine is a short, hairy dude, and he was also very hairy. Like, Rich, I don't know if you noticed that his arms were just covered in hair.
No, I didn't quite catch that, but it was like he was smaller than 5'2". You got it. He's like 4.5 foot, something like that. Like, he was tiny. He was a little boy. And that was the first Wolverine he found. That was the first Wolverine he found after finding Logan's dead body. It was the first Wolverine, and it was a shock, and it was hilarious. It was so fantastic. And then it was just like a bunch of Wolverines after Wolverines until they found the Wolverine that we got, which was a universal Wolverine that we've never met before. But it was still Hugh Jackman, and it's still great Wolverine. But at one point they had Henry Cavill cameo as Wolverine, because I guess people were saying they wanted him as Wolverine, as the next Wolverine or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what like that whole thing is, like if there was like some sort of online deal about it, but yeah, like that scene was great because it was just a back shot at first, so you don't realize it's not Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
and then they turn around and it's fucking Henry Cavill.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, but that whole montage jumping around, like they did such a good job of comic book accurate stuff too. Like aside from like the height one, the one where it's just Wolverine crucified on the X with all the skulls. That's a famous cover. They did Patch, which was when he was in the casino with the eye patch and the white suit on. That is like an alter ego that Wolverine assumes occasionally. And they did like a Days of Future Past, like comic book Days of Future Past Wolverine when it was in the alleyway in the very like 1980s getup. Yeah. And then they did the fucking John Byrne original Wolverine with the brown and yellow, and had like the Hulk, like very brief like Hulk-ish cameo kind of thing. Yeah. Including like it was the reflection on the claws, which again, a famous comic book scene or cover. So like they really did a good job with that.
Was that Ruffalo Hulk or was that a different Hulk?
So I didn't get a good enough look at it. I assume it was supposed to be Ruffalo Hulk.
I think it was Ruffalo Hulk, but I wasn't sure.
But that is literally Wolverine's first appearance. It's him fighting the Hulk in that color suit. Yeah. But yeah, like all that whole section, especially for that section to be followed up, or to be following up the bye 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 intro.
Oh god, that intro was fantastic. The soundtrack for the movie was just fantastic. It was amazing.
Yeah, they definitely got the right songs for the right stuff. That having the intro be him dancing to Bye 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 while killing people with Wolverine's fucking adamantium skeleton. Yeah. And then to have Like a Prayer playing during like that final battle against the Deadpool Corps. Yeah, all that was good. The villain was excuse me. The villain was, I think Cassandra Nova was actually a cool choice, but also like most of these movies, kind of a letdown when it came to an actual confrontation and resolution. But I'm used to that in these movies. Like, you very rarely have like a satisfying conclusion with the villain. They just end up dying by some like plot armor.
Yeah, I wasn't let down with Cassandra. I don't know Cassandra Nova based on the comics. They pulled something out of their ass. It seemed like, I'm sure she's an actual character and things like that, but like
she's Xavier's sister.
Yeah, like this is a character I've never heard of before. This is a character I've never experienced before. So I don't really have any like relationship with what her powers actually are, how strong she is and whatnot. But I think like I liked her, and this is my thing about like a lot of the Marvel villains is like they're not particularly like deadly, but they're charismatic, and that's what makes them bad because they're able to get people behind them. And that's how she was. She was able to get people behind her, whether it was because she jumped into their brains and made them listen, or it was because she's very charismatic. Like that's where I see a lot of the villains in a lot of these recent Marvel movies. It's like these villains are good villains because they might die at the end because for some reason they always have to fucking die. But like they're good villains because not necessarily because they're deadly, but because they can raise an army very easily.
But see, that's my thing. Like, I don't think she was a bad villain. I think the way that they handle their villains is bad. Like, they generally have people that could be really interesting villains, and oftentimes they are, but they're just one and done almost every fucking time, to the point where they're almost not a threat.
I mean, the last time they had a villain that wasn't one and done was Loki. And look what turned into him. He got his own series. We saw way too much of him, and I was tired of seeing him. Like,
I mean, yes, that Loki, because they took Loki and made him not a villain.
Yeah.
Like, they spent a lot of time making him not a villain and have him constantly bounce back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't dislike her as a villain. I just felt that it fell a little flat when it came to resolution time with her.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like the whole kind of catalyst for what she was doing at the end, none of that really made sense to me. It was just a good excuse to have Deadpool and Wolverine fight an army of Deadpools, which was a really cool scene. So, like, I don't hate it, but like I feel they could have come up with something better.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree. I thought like her whole motivation of like by the end of it all being like, well, I want to just take over the universe or all the multiverse. Like, all right, it makes sense. Like by taking over, she wanted to kill all multiverses except for the trash heap, so that she could then lead and be the leader and ruler of everything. I was like, all right, well, that's like, unfortunately, but I mean, that's villain. Like, villain just wants to take over the world. Like, that's what she wants to do. Them defeating her by blowing up the machine, all right, that's kind of lame, but you can't really have much of a fight with a psychic entity.
But like they could have, because they figured out you put the fucking Juggernaut helmet on her.
Yeah, but then what is she?
But also, like,
she's
not
just
just
a weak person. Like
the ending being the power of friendship, basically. Like, they only survived it because they did it together.
Look, if you didn't know that was going to happen at the end of the movie, when they were talking about,
you absolutely did. You knew right from the point that was mentioned that they were going to do it together, and that they were going to pull the Wolverine was volunteering, but then Deadpool was going to run in and do it by himself, and then Wolverine was going to get in there and hold his hand and fix it. Like, all of that was super telegraphed. That's why, like, the movie, like, narrative wise, like the main plot of the movie, not the best, but I think like it made up for that with like heart and moments. Like, basically all the interactions between Deadpool and Wolverine were fantastic. Like, yeah, you could tell that those two had a ton of fun making that movie.
Yeah.
And then when you mix in all of the like the cameos and stuff, like, yeah, the fucking Chris Evans, like,
I just want to get this out here right now, Drew. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that there's a new world record holder for the longest standing Marvel hero?
No.
It is no longer Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It is Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, because the first Blade came out in 1998, and he just reprised the role in 2024, so...
Yeah.
He's got 2 years on Jackman. Jackman has to do 2 more years worth of Wolverine to...
Yeah, Jackman until he's 90, so...
Yeah, I mean, which they made that joke in the movie a few times, but there was also at one point like Deadpool does make the line about giving Blade one more movie or something like that.
No. Blade says there's only been one and there's not going to be any other. And Deadpool kind of winks because Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade.
You know what it is? Ryan Reynolds has been posting on like all of his social media.
He's been advocating for Channing Tatum. He's been advocating for Wesley Snipes to have another movie. He's been advocating for him. Yeah,
he's been posting very long write-ups about each of like the actors and the characters. Like he did one for Jennifer Garner, he did one for Channing Tatum, for Snipes, and for Daphne Keane. Mm-hmm. But for Snipes, like the thing that he wrote was literally like give him his Logan. Like let him do one more Blade movie the way that they did Logan.
I feel like it's been too long.
I think it has and it hasn't. Only because of this movie. I think if they would have just done a fucking Blade movie with Wesley Snipes, I think people would have been like, what the fuck? But if they were to do one now, after him popping up in this movie, I think that it could work if it was done well. Because like the first two Blades are really good. It's the third one that fucking ruined that franchise.
The one with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I've never seen Blade Trinity. So I can't really say on that part, but
it's like it's not terrible, but it's not good like the first two are. Like the first two are very dark and gritty and good. And I think by the time Trinity came out is when like the X-Men and Spider-Man and all that had gotten pretty big as far as movies go.
Yeah.
And they just tried to go in a different direction.
Yeah. But like I feel because of what they did and how they brought him into this, I feel like what they need to do is obviously we're getting Secret Wars. Like that's the next big thing after Doomsday. He's going to be, if anything, because we're supposed to get Blade soon, unless it's changed, and Mahershala Ali is no longer going to be Blade.
He is Blade, but I feel like that movie is just in development hell. Like they can't find somebody to actually stick with it.
So I think what would be best is if we get a side-by-side of Wesley Snipes and Mahershala Ali next to each other during Secret Wars fighting off enemies. Like that would be great. I don't think he needs to get his own wrap-up film for his stuff because it's just been too long. Even with this cameo, it's been too long. Because you could argue that might not necessarily be the Blade from the Blade. It is. That's what the whole point of all of this was the Blade from those films. But like it was the Elektra from Elektra and Daredevil, and she was X-23 from Logan, which is funny because apparently this movie takes place before the death of Logan.
Well, yes and no.
Because Logan dies in 2029. And
But remember, this is like a time thing, and that wasteland is where people go when the TVA I know. And but like that just means that somewhere down in the future somebody zaps in 10 years from the time of Logan's death, so 2039, somebody zapped X-23 for whatever reason, even though like they even say that was the funniest thing. Like the villain in this, although was Cassandra, the villain was what's his name? Yeah, the TVA
Mr. Paradox. Because like he did it's dumb. The reason he's a villain is because he didn't want to do his job. Yeah. He just wanted it to end. So like the whole idea for this movie is Logan is the Logan we know, the Logan that died in Logan, is the anchor being to to that universe. And after he dies, the universe starts to slowly degrade across hundreds of thousands of years, or something like that.
Yeah, it was a very long time.
And so Mr. Paradox was put in charge of that universe after Logan dies to just oversee it and make sure it goes in peace. And he didn't want to wait. So he just plans to destroy it right away. And then Deadpool's like, no, then you're getting... But they decide to use Marvel Jesus Deadpool as their Messiah and bring him to 616, which is the prime timeline, the main timeline that we know, the sacred timeline. And Deadpool doesn't want his friends and family to be destroyed, so he then goes on this quest to get a new Logan, a new anchor being, to be an anchor being, not knowing that that's not how it works. And it was just, it was silly. Like, that's why hearing you complain about Cassandra and how they resolve her, I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, she was like a secondary villain, really. Like, she was a villain, but she wasn't a villain. Like, this movie had...
made her become the big bad, though, at the end.
Yeah, they made her become the big bad at the end, but this movie was just... There wasn't really a sense for any of it. Like, they didn't need her to be the big bad. Just the whole... Like, they didn't need her to be there at the very end of the movie. They could have just ran the machine and been like, oh, well, we're just going to run the machine and we can't stop it now, but if you do this, it might be able to stop it. Like, they didn't need her in there. Like, this movie would have happened with or without her. She is the Indiana Jones to this movie.
Yeah, and like that, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, they missed it with that kind of like story part because they had to do it because that's what the studio expects. But they nailed everything else in a way where like the movie's just super enjoyable and didn't need a villain at all. Yeah, like if that movie ended with just the army of Deadpool coming through because the portal was left unguarded or something like that, that would have totally been fine. Because like that movie didn't need the big bad like rationale of somebody destroying the universe like beyond fucking Mr. Paradox. And like frankly, it could have even been Mr. Paradox let all the Deadpools out of the wasteland so that he could just finish destroying that universe, and if that universe gets clipped, they all go back to the wasteland anyway. Like, it's a win-win.
Well, if that universe gets destroyed with the machine, they don't go to the wasteland. They just get destroyed. They're gone forever. So
are you sure? I thought they go to the wasteland because they're all getting clipped.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it worked.
Well, because that's what Cassandra alludes to, though, that everyone that she destroys when she destroys all of the universes will be in the wasteland for her to rule.
No, I think I think what I took from that was all that's left would be the wasteland for her to rule, and everyone that's there already. But also at the same time, how much of this movie even matter? Have you finished Loki season 2 yet?
No, there's an episode and a half. So I don't think did I tell you guys what happened with Benny?
No.
Right, I heard, but
yeah. So like, quick side thing, that little doofus choked on a dental chew last Thursday.
Oh, buddy.
He's fine. He was fine the whole time. But, like, he was acting super weird afterwards because he kept trying to throw up and couldn't. We think it was, like, you know when, like, you eat, like, a chip or something hard and you don't chew it enough and, like, it kind of, like, scratches and feels like it's stuck in your throat?
Uh-huh.
We're pretty sure, like, that's basically what happened, and the vet kind of confirmed it. But, like, he did that, and then he spent, like, a lot of time, like, hacking and trying to throw up. And, like, we'd let him outside, and he would just immediately try to, like, eat leaves and grass to make himself throw up. And he finally managed to throw up everything. And we thought he'd be okay, but then he was still acting weird. So it was like 10 o'clock at night. I ended up driving him up to Red Bank Animal Hospital.
Oof.
And we were in the middle of watching the second to last episode and just haven't gone back to finish it because we just haven't really like watched much since then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I have 2 episodes left, and Benny is fine. He's just a doofus.
Yeah, oh, buddies.
Like, literally got to the vet and all of his weird behavior stopped.
Of course.
That's how they all do it. That's how they all do it.
It's like, bud. It's like, buddy, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have 2 episodes left. But like the movie does allude to things that seem to be the fallout from the end of that show.
Just wait till you finish watching the show.
Yeah. If it's not directly connected to Loki with some of the stuff I saw there, then it's definitely things that they're trying to do to tie up all the loose ends from them no longer doing Kang.
I don't think they were trying to tie up any Kang things with this. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this movie was 100%. This movie was just a love letter to 20th Century Fox, saying goodbye to those movies. And that's what it was. Like, I don't think this movie really had any major book to play or major number to play into the MCU as a whole. It's still in its own universe. It's still in its own pocket thing in the MCU, but it's not part of the prime timeline, at least as of yet. Maybe it'll have something to do with. Maybe we'll see these characters again in Secret Wars.
I think they confirmed Deadpool is in Secret Wars, didn't they?
I'm sure they have. I don't know. But like, I'm sure Deadpool will be in it. I'm sure maybe Logan will be in it. Who knows if the other characters will be in it? We'll see. The movie doesn't come out for another 2+ years, so like maybe by that time, if they don't get a new Blade out, then Hugh Jackman will reprise his record. But like,
also I did just check, and apparently that Blade movie is actually scheduled for November of 2025.
What, with Mahershala Ali?
Yeah.
So November 2020. Oh, that makes sense.
So like a year and a few months
from now. So yeah. So like, I don't see it. I don't mind. I also didn't mind that the villain was it was also kind of a nothing burger, because like I knew it was going to be a nothing burger. I knew it wasn't going to be anything crazy. But also, like, yeah, they saved the multiverses, but that's just going to be it. It's going to be its own encapsulated thing. And I don't know. I loved it, though. I had such a good time. Gotta hand it to Channing Tatum being Gambit. And
his accent was so bad, but in like the right way.
It was so good. He was so Cajun. A friend of mine who lives down in Louisiana, they're Cajun. They were like, everything that he said, I could understand, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way he talked is the way he's written in the comics, like 100%.
Yeah. And all of the talk of like, because so for anybody who doesn't know who's listening, Channing Tatum for the longest time was trying to get a Gambit movie to be made. And I thought at one point
there was one actually in the works that just never got anywhere.
It was greenlit at one point in some way, shape, or form. It was in pre-production, never got anywhere. So that was that cameo. That was that Gambit that never was able to make that movie. And all of his lines were about how he never got to see the light of day, basically, and how he's so happy to show people what he could be. And I'm so excited to see. It doesn't have to be this Gambit. It could be a Gambit from another multiversal but as long as it's fucking Channing Tatum, I'm going to be so happy, because he did such a good job as Gambit.
He did. He seemed like he was having fun with it, and they just did a good job with Gambit. Like, my only complaint is Gambit is more than playing cards, and they miss an opportunity to just do something fucking off the fucking walls with his ability.
And he did some crazy shit. So he charged his staff and put it in a guy and blew the guy up.
Which, look, that was cool, but he can literally charge anything. Like, it would have been fucking cool as shit if he charged up, like, the fucking van that they came in with, and, like, Juggernaut ran into it as it exploded. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my only like, missed beat with Gambit, is they stuck to the cards because he's iconic for the exploding cards. Yeah. They did the staff, which is good, because he does fight with that staff a lot in like, the comics. Like, that's how he fights close quarters. But, like, I would have loved to just see him, like, fucking charge up something just ridiculous. Just because, like, they did so many other just over-the-top bullshit. Like, that would have just been cool. I mean, we got Dogpool.
Dogpool, oh my god. Dogpool was the best. licking freaking Deadpool Wade's face and everything. Kidpool and Babypool were Ryan Reynolds' actually kids.
And I Blake think Lively voiced Lady Deadpool.
Blake Lively voiced Lady Pool, yeah.
I don't know. This might not have actually hit for you. When they're back on Deadpool's Earth, right before the Deadpool like assault begins, when Cassandra gets there, she blows them back through like a building. That building was called Liefeld's Just Feet. So Rob Liefeld is the creator of Deadpool. Mm-hmm. He is infamous for his fucking ability to draw feet. Like, that dude just, for whatever reason, like, drawing the human body just eludes this guy. He makes the most awkwardly scaled feet. Like, they're almost always too small and very pointy. So you'll have these like giant 90s comic book characters that are like giant barrel chests, and then you get to their feet and they're like these tiny little triangles.
Mm.
So the fact that they went into a store called Liefield's Just Feet and it was like a shoe store, I found very funny.
One of my favorite like throwaways or cameos, it was not a cameo, but it was a throwaway kind of thing that they did, is during the van fight. Somebody's head gets hit into the radio, and the beginning of The Greatest Showman soundtrack starts to play.
Okay, is that what that was?
That was one of the songs. It was like quick because it does that, and then he hits his head again, and it's whatever song they did in there. But it was like a quick one. It was The Greatest Showman, which was Hugh Jackman played Barnum from Barnum Bailey. Played him in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, I never saw the movie, so I didn't recognize the music.
Yeah, it's a great musical. It's a great musical. So that was like, I love that. I heard that. I was like, I just had to double check and make sure that was there. That's what I heard, and it was. And that friggin' Headpool was fantastic.
Yeah, they grabbed every Deadpool you could think of, and then just a bunch of generic Deadpools.
Yeah.
I will say, like, my favorite cameo is definitely Chris Evans, though.
Chris Evans was fantastic. That was the best part. He's gonna say it. Avengers Flame On.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Like the fact that they got him to come back to be Johnny Storm was great. His weird kind of New York accent was an interesting choice.
Oh man, he went strong with that Brooklyn accent.
But
he went strong with that thing.
So the thing that got him de-skinned and popped. Did you see like the news article about that?
What?
So that rant he has that's in the after credits scene, the one that like Deadpool reiterates to Cassandra.
Yeah.
So apparently Ryan Reynolds offered him cue cards for it because it was such like a long kind of monologue. And Evans turned him down, saying he was coming with it memorized because he doesn't ever get to say dialogue like that, and he was going to have fun with it.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I liked that was the credit scene too. It was being like, look, I didn't just say he said it here, and you play it and you actually get to hear him say it.
Yeah, so Drew, there's this bit where Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is complaining about the villain of this place, and he says things like, "She can lick my brown donut." Yeah, and like it's like a 30-second like rant about this character, and in the early middle part of the movie, Deadpool says all this stuff to the character, but attributes it to Johnny Storm, and it gets Johnny Storm killed. So like the whole movie, people keep blaming him for Johnny Storm being dead. So the end credit scene is literally him playing the tape back, being like, "We have tape. Yeah. I didn't just make this shit up." And it's just Chris Evans sitting with like his hands tied, like just saying some of the most vulgar shit you've ever heard, which is just unexpected coming from fucking Captain America.
Also, in Secret Wars, if we do not have a scene of Thor crying over Deadpool, I'm going to be so mad.
I love that they just didn't acknowledge that beyond Deadpool asking why was Thor crying.
Yeah. That was all of his motivation for doing everything he was doing was so that he could have Thor crying over his body.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that needs to be in whatever team up movie that Deadpool and Thor are in. That needs to be in that movie. Like, maybe Thor doesn't know that Deadpool can't die or something like that, and that happens, or I don't know. That needs to be in it. If they do not have that in it, it's a great cameo, but such a waste of a scene.
Yeah, but it's very funny to never explain it.
Yeah.
Especially if Deadpool is in, like, Secret Wars or something like that, and he does, like, interact with Thor, and to just have that be, like, one of those things where, like, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall to mention it. But, like, you never actually get a resolution as to why it happened.
It's going to be interesting to see how Deadpool acts in a team-up movie. Because, like, normally when it's his movie and he's breaking the fourth wall, it's fine. But, like, to have him break the fourth wall in a team-up movie where it's not just him, like, you're not going to be able to dedicate enough time for him to be fully him in a team-up movie.
I mean, that's usually how books go with him. Like, his book very like off the wall, fourth wall breaking, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, very meta.
When he's in a book with if his one other character like Deadpool Wolverine, Deadpool Cable, Deadpool Spider-Man, he does it a lot, but like the other character just never knows what he's talking about. When it comes to like an X-Force or X-Men book, when he's part of that, he does it, but other things are always happening around him, so it's not like the central thing because he's not the main character of those stories.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The last thing I want to just talk about is and it's not big, but they wrap up the movie with the credits with a good riddance montage of all the old film scenes from each of the characters.
Yeah, like it's a bunch of like behind the scenes clips and stuff like that from making those old movies. From making
from making like Elektra, Blade,
the original X-Men movies.
The original X-Men movies, Logan, even some of this movie as well was put in it. But yeah, it was like that was and that's where like that's right there when they did that I was like, yeah, this was a love letter to Fox. This was a love letter to what they had.
But they couldn't do Coke.
They couldn't do Coke. That's it. Feige says everything's fine except Coke.
Which apparently that was like a legitimate, like, they were kind of given like, they were given the okay to go hard R. They just couldn't do hard drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And like, they did go pretty hard R.
They did go very hard R. I was a little let down that you didn't get, even though I've seen it in trailers already, and I know they do this all the time, but there is a scene in the diner in the trailer where Wolverine and Deadpool, yeah, it's kind of hard to eat with the mask on, and he's like, well, it's hard to eat with the mask off. That wasn't in the diner scene.
No, it wasn't.
And I was like, oh man, I wanted to see more of that scene. Like, I wanted to know, like, what other ridiculous banter would happen from that. But
there's probably a lot of cut bits from that scene.
I can only imagine how much they ad-libbed in this movie with some of those scenes.
Yeah, I forget if I asked you last week. Did you watch the Hot Ones with those two?
That was a fantastic episode. If you haven't seen Hot Ones with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, you should definitely watch that. It was a really good one.
Agreed. It was very good. I agree. Yeah. And yeah, the movie super fun. I had a great time watching it.
Yeah, I will. It is for me. It's up there. It's up there.
Where is it?
Oof. I'd probably put it at 4. I don't think it's top 3, but it's really close.
I don't know, man. This movie had Deadpool dancing the Bye 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 to open the movie.
I know. See, that's the thing. Like, I kind of want to replace. I kind of want to move Deadpool and put that at 4 and put this at 2.
I mean, you can do that. It's your list.
Because that would make it be Logan, then Deadpool Wolverine, then Days of Future Past.
Yeah, there. I just did that. Yeah, I just did it. So Logan, Deadpool, Wolverine, Days of Future Past, Deadpool.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, I don't want Deadpool. I don't want there to be 2 Deadpools in top 3.
I mean that's totally fair.
It feels favoritism.
I mean, like, they're the movies that kind of like they are kind of done the best, and they have the most kind of heart to them.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And because, it's also like watching these back to back and watching Deadpool 2, and this one. It's so wild to see the drop that you got in Deadpool 2 and how honestly not good Deadpool 2 was to how good Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 3 are.
Yeah, like, I remember enjoying Deadpool 2, but like I think I'd have it higher than what you have it on your list.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also some stuff on your list that I would have like rearranged. Like,
yeah,
I would have Dark Phoenix lower. I'd have X2 higher, but I also have Deadpool 2 a little bit higher.
Yeah,
I might have that like above your First Class, like in like the 5 spot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and if this is the last you see of Deadpool and Wolverine, like, it was actually a pretty good like send off for them, because like,
yeah,
it does end on a positive note of like them kind of just in the same universe, and they brought X-23 back too.
Yeah, they brought all the characters back that were in the movie. Like, they are all still living in.
No, I mean, like, universe. They literally brought X-23 into their universe, like into their time specifically.
They brought them all.
No one else was in that end scene.
I'm pretty sure Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes were, and I think all of the heroes were in that end scene.
They weren't. It was just X-23 sitting next to Logan while they were... Everybody else from Deadpool's life was there, but not the rest of those characters.
I'd have to see it again. I'm pretty sure that they were...
I specifically looked for everybody after I saw her and realized that it was just her.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's also a good way where, like, they can use X-23 again.
Yeah. I love that she had her glasses from the Logan movie.
Yeah. Like... It was one of those, she had, like, 2 really good scenes, but I feel like she could have probably had more. There just wasn't enough time in the movie to really do that, because it wasn't about her, and that, while she had that moment with this Wolverine, that's not her Wolverine, so there's not the same connection there.
Yeah.
Like, they needed to have an interaction, but it wasn't ever going to be the interaction.
It's also, again, like... Wolverine, or this movie, the timeline of Deadpool is, as far as we know, 2024. I can't remember if they actually put dates in Deadpool's universe, but Logan doesn't die until 2029. So there's going to be 5 years where there are 2 Wolverines and 2 X-23s in this timeline.
I mean, that's true, but also, so here's the problem. That Logan... Like, Logan from Logan, like, can't be the same one from Deadpool's timeline at this point, because wasn't like the world kind of gone to shit longer than just 5 years? Like, I got the impression, like, wasn't it like a decade prior is when the whole thing with the X-Men happened?
I don't think they really ever said.
I got the impression it had been longer, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like...
But, like, it is that Logan, though, because...
I mean, yes, like that. They tell you that because he was the anchor being for that universe, but it also just doesn't make any sense. Like they definitely just threw that out there, and they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
Like these universes don't actually exist anymore. Like no one can call our bullshit on it. So we'll just call time travel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. When it comes out on streaming, I'll end up watching again because Erica didn't go to the theater to watch it with me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I will have fun watching it again just for all the crazy bullshit, and I'm sure I'm sure there are Easter eggs for like actual comic booky things that I just missed in it too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you missed a ton of stuff. It was great though. It's such a worth it movie to go see.
Yeah, like I got lucky. I found the AMC in Voorhees, the one that used to be the Ritz, had a showing at like noon that was just empty. Mm-hmm. The only downside was it was in one of their theaters that was not converted to the comfy chairs.
They don't. So, I don't think they have many, if any, theaters that they ever converted to comfy chairs.
They have like their main one, and I think 1 or 2 others. And this was in like
I've been to that one.
This was in like one of their medium-sized ones. So like it's still stadium seating, but it's like just traditional old seats, which was fine. Like, but you know, I've grown accustomed to sitting in those nice recliners.
It was wild because my theater was packed. At noon. It was, what was it, 12:30? I went and I saw the movie. It was like, so I got up to like start my day, and it was like 11 o'clock because I didn't really feel like getting out of bed that day. So I laid in bed for a longer time, got up, got a shower and everything, and was like, all right, I have to go food shopping. I want to see the movie. And I looked up times, and like there was one, it was at like 11:50, and then there's 12:30. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just go see if we can make the 11:50, and if we can't, we'll just wait for the 12:30. Couldn't make the 11:50. Got there just after 11:50, and I'm like, I'm not gonna try to rush to get in. I don't even know if tickets are available. But I checked the 12:30, and there was 2 seats left, maybe. I was like, wow, I was not expecting this movie to be sold out.
Yeah,
even though it's like, I know it's breaking records, and it's the highest grossing R-rated film ever. I just for some reason was like, all right, it's week 2. And it's noon. I wasn't expecting people to be out to the movies on noon on a Sunday. But also, I think it was super fucking hot, so that's all people want to do is sit inside in the air conditioning.
Yeah, and like,
it's hot and rainy.
I looked at a lot of theaters on Saturday. That Voorhees one was like the only one that had a ton of availability. Mm-hmm. And I think it is partially because it was in one of their older theaters.
Yeah.
Because the showing that they had that was slightly before that was definitely in their newer theater, and that one was mostly full, but it was also a 3D showing, which it's fucking mind-numbing that they're still trying to fucking push 3D. No one wants to go to 3D movies.
Yeah, I almost got I was looking, and the best times available for me around when I want to go see it, a lot of them were 3D, and I'm like,
yeah, because there's more 3D showings. They're more expensive.
Not going to see a 3D, and I just want to know who decided to do 3D for this movie,
And there's a bunch of stuff at the beginning too that they definitely did for the 3D effect, with the shit flying at the screen.
Yeah,
yeah, it's fucking dumb. Nobody wants that. I wanted to go to Moorestown for the RPX because I usually those theaters aren't that full. And I initially clicked on one, not realizing it was the 3D RPX, and it was empty. There was one fucking seat taken. Mm-hmm. And I realized it was 3D, and I backed out, and I checked all of the non-3D showings that were RPX. There were, no decent seats left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all the non-3D showings were filling up. No one wanted to go see it in 3D.
Yeah.
Because, it's $5 more expensive, and 3D sucks. You have people like you, Drew, that, actually get a headache from it. And then you have other people that, it's just not a good experience. The movie does not look any better through those shitty fucking plastic glasses. I hate it. But anyway, that's probably it, unless there's anything else you want to say about Deadpool, Rich?
No. I absolutely enjoyed that movie. I would definitely go see it again.
Well, do it right now. We're gonna go see Deadpool 2.
No, I have to get a shower. 3. I have to get a shower standing up for the first time in 4 months.
Oh, good luck.
It'll be fine. I get to shower for the standing up. I'm so excited. Let me tell you, I am literally excited to shower standing up.
Oh, I can imagine. But yeah, so I guess then that will do it for this week. If you would like to find any more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of it helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. You can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what does your streaming look like?
I forgot one more thing. My theater cheered when Wolverine put his mask on.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen.
He actually put the mask on. It wasn't just the suit; he had the mask too. But it's not. You don't see it till the end of the movie. Streaming twitch.tv/b_walnuts. We're on video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I've been playing a lot of Pacific Drive to try to beat that game. Also playing Star Ocean Second Story R and Sea of Thieves and things like that. So come check me out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I'm streaming a lot. I stream a lot.
You do. And then next week we will be doing our next book club on Jaws 3D for sequels to movies that we haven't seen the original of, or the previous of, I guess I should say. And yeah, other than that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.